The noise before the reset. There comes a point in life when everything starts to sound like static. You wake up tired, even after 8 hours of sleep. You look in the mirror, and the face staring back feels like a stranger, familiar, but distant. That was me. I used to have big dreams. The kind that kept me up at night. But somewhere between chasing validation and avoiding failure, I lost my map. Every morning, I whispered to myself, "Tomorrow I'll fix it." And every night, I fell asleep to the same excuses echoing in my head. It wasn't laziness. It was exhaustion, the kind that comes from pretending you're fine when you're not. I was tired of smiling through burnout. Tired of starting over without changing anything. Tired of carrying a version of myself that didn't fit the person I wanted to become. Then one morning, I hit a wall. Not physically, mentally. The kind of wall your soul builds when it's had enough. I sat in silence. No music. No scrolling. No noise. Just me, and the truth I'd been running from. The truth was simple: I wasn't broken. I was cluttered. My life was packed with things, people, habits, and thoughts that didn't belong to my future, only my past. And you can't move forward if you're still dragging the weight of who you used to be. So, that day, I decided to hit reset. Not in a movie montage kind of way, no dramatic speeches or inspirational playlists. Just quiet, intentional change. I deleted half the apps on my phone. I stopped replying to messages that drained my energy. I threw away things that reminded me of versions of myself that no longer existed. And in that small act of letting go, I felt light. Resetting isn't about running away from your life. It's about rebuilding it on purpose. It's about looking at every corner of your day, your habits, your routines, your environment, and asking one hard question: does this push me closer to who I want to be? If the answer is no, it doesn't belong in your life anymore. I started small. 5 minutes of stillness in the morning. A walk without my phone. Journaling, not to be productive, but to be present. At first, it felt pointless. But slowly, clarity started to return. Because the reset button isn't one big moment. It's 1,000 small decisions stacked quietly on top of each other. It's saying no when everyone expects you to say yes. It's choosing progress over perfection. It's forgiving yourself for slipping and showing up anyway. I stopped chasing the illusion of success. Instead, I started chasing peace, the kind that hums in the background when you're finally living in truth, not performance. And that's when everything began to change. My focus sharpened. My energy returned. The noise faded. And suddenly, the right opportunities, the ones that aligned, started to appear. Not because I forced them, but because I finally created space for them to exist. Resetting your life isn't glamorous. It's not Instagram-able. It's raw, quiet, and often lonely. It's filled with nights of honesty and days of discipline. But it's worth it. Because one morning, you'll wake up, look in the mirror, and realize you're not fighting your life anymore. You're living it. And that's when you'll know the reset worked. The battle between motivation and discipline. When I first hit reset, I thought the hardest part would be starting over. But I was wrong. Starting was easy, staying consistent when no one was watching, that was the real test. See, when you decide to change your life, the world doesn't cheer for you. It challenges you. It tempts you with old comforts dressed as progress, familiar distractions, old friends, bad habits that whisper, "Come back, just for a little while." And every single day, you have to decide, will I go back? Or will I go forward? Some mornings I woke up ready, unstoppable, focused, driven. Other mornings, I didn't want to move at all. That's when I learned a truth that changed everything: discipline is stronger than motivation. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going when your emotions betray you. So I made rules. Not to restrict my life, but to protect my purpose. Rule: no phone for the first hour of the day. Rule: if it doesn't serve my growth, it doesn't get my time. Rule: reflect every night, even if it's just one honest sentence about how I showed up. At first, it felt mechanical, forced. Like I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. But then something subtle happened. Those little acts of discipline began to build something sacred: trust. Because you can't believe in yourself if you keep breaking promises to yourself. Every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," and you don't, you teach your mind that your word means nothing. But every time you follow through, no matter how small, you rewrite your identity. I wasn't chasing perfection anymore. I was chasing consistency. Because consistency compounds. It turns chaos into order. And order turns confusion into clarity. Of course, I stumbled. I fell back into distractions. I had lazy days and bad moods. But this time, I didn't call it failure. I called it feedback. Feedback meant I was still in motion. Still growing. Still trying to become someone I'd be proud of. And that mindset, that shift from judgment to curiosity, changed everything. I stopped running from pain and started learning from it. Pain became my teacher. Every setback showed me where I still had work to do. Every disappointment built a new layer of resilience. And little by little, I began to see results. Not dramatic, cinematic transformation, but quiet progress. I was calmer. More deliberate. Less reactive. More patient. My focus deepened, my goals simplified. Before, I tried to chase 10 things at once and finished none. Now I chase 3: my health, my craft, my peace. Everything else? Just noise. And when you simplify your life, something amazing happens: success starts chasing you. You stop hunting it down and begin attracting it through your clarity, your energy, your habits. The world recognizes alignment. Opportunities that once seemed impossible start finding you. People who used to drain you naturally fade away. And new ones arrive, the kind that challenge you, inspire you, and grow with you. That's when I realized something profound: when you reset your life, your environment resets too. You stop fitting into your old world because you're quietly building a new one. And yes, it gets lonely. Growth always does. But I'd rather walk alone toward my purpose than stay surrounded by people who celebrate my comfort zone. Resetting your life isn't about cutting people off. It's about raising your standard and watching who rises with you. Because when you level up, not everyone comes along. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to walk the same distance with you. The people who are meant for your next chapter will recognize your energy. They'll see your silence, your discipline, your peace, and match it. The rest will fade naturally. And when that happens, don't chase what's leaving. Make space for what's coming. The return to clarity as weeks turned into months, something began to shift. Peace, not the fleeting kind that fades when life gets loud, but the deep kind. The kind that lives underneath the chaos. My days had rhythm again. Not because life got easier, but because I stopped fighting it. The noise, the uncertainty, the pressure, they were all still there. But they didn't own me anymore. I had built something stronger inside: clarity. Clarity is power. It turns confusion into direction and hesitation into action. And once I found it, I stopped begging the universe for signs. I just started moving. I didn't wait to feel ready. I acted, even when fear whispered in my ear. I didn't need people to understand my vision, I trusted it, even when no one else did. And slowly, the world started to mirror my new energy. See, resetting your life isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. We all start pure. curious, hopeful. Then life piles on noise, opinions, fear, expectation until we forget the sound of our own voice. The reset brings you back to that voice. The one that believes. The one that dares. The one that dreams, even after disappointment. But this time, you come back stronger, wiser, grounded, awake. I remember one night sitting in silence. No distractions. No playlists. Just me and the hum of nothingness. And for the first time in years, I wasn't anxious about tomorrow or haunted by yesterday. I was here, fully, peacefully, completely here. That's when I smiled. Because I realized I didn't need a new life. I just needed to start living this one differently. Success stopped being a destination. It became a feeling, peace, purpose, progress. And every day, through small acts of consistency, that feeling grew. People often ask, how do I start over? And I tell them, you don't start by changing your life. You start by changing your days. Because your days become your life. You can't build a new reality with the same 24 hours you waste wishing for one. So start small. Wake up earlier than your excuses. Spend 10 minutes with your thoughts before the world grabs your attention. Do one thing your future self will thank you for and do it again tomorrow. That's how you reset. Not in a single dramatic leap, but in thousands of tiny steps that lead you home to yourself. And there's freedom in that, knowing you don't need it all figured out. Knowing you're allowed to outgrow old versions of yourself. Knowing that peace isn't something you find, it's something you build. When you hit the reset button, the world doesn't magically change. But you do. And that changes everything. Because once your mind shifts, your entire reality follows. You stop surviving. You start living. You stop chasing. You start attracting. You stop proving. You start becoming. And somewhere between who you were and who you're becoming, you find what you've been looking for all along, yourself. So if you're listening to this, feeling lost or stuck, here's your reminder, you don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to have it all together. You just need the courage to begin again. Hit reset. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Because your next chapter isn't waiting for permission. It's waiting for you.